Welcome everyone to this last seminar for this year. Today is presenting Raffaella from the University of Bonn. She's an archaeologist and she has just terminated her PhD last April in archaeology. And she's presenting today about the Romanization of Northern Etruria. I leave it to you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you very much for the invitation. I'm really proud and grateful to share with you the first step of my postdoctoral research about the Romanization of Northern Etruria that I will analyze through the method of the social network analysis. That's a very big question. Is hidden under my line of research. Is the question related to the impact of Romanization on the local identities. If we read the Romanization as a global process, what happens to the identity of people? So how do people can have a new perception of their own identity in relation to the global one? And doing this, if I want to quote the brother Cohen, I am very conscious that I must travel a long and difficult road, a road fraught with peril. That's because when you think about the Romanization of this area, normally you got an image similar to the image you have in this map. So you have some places where there was some battle. You have some territories that are territory of influence of Rome, and some territories of Etruscan cities. And that's a vision I would like to get over. Even if we read the Romanization as a process, we can read it as a conquest process, colonization, acculturation, absorption, or assimilation. My personal choice is to read the Romanization and as a transformation of the relationships between settlement. That means as a network. The network is done from some nodes that are, in my case, the settlement, and of the all relationships between them. To construct my network, I had to do some choices, and the first choice is related to the node size, and I choose the settlement as a node. But really, I'm not interested in the settlement themselves, but in the people they are living in. And the people are the real agent of the contact between settlement. So why I choose this size, so the size of the settlement? Because the settlement is the place where the people have an identity of living together. And so we can consider the settlement as the place where the information has a high level of sharing. It would be impossible with my sources related to Northern Etruria to follow the movement of single people. But we, and I can't forget that they are the people, they are provoking this contact between settlement. And the edges, so these lines, they are connecting settlements as dots, represent the relationships between the settlements. The second choice I've done is this one of the layer on which I want to construct my network. And so I choose do not construct just a single network, but a different network that are constructed through different relational ties. The relational ties are the type of relationships I can establish. And now I will show you which are these relational ties. They are the connectivity between settlements, the mobility of people, the exchange of material goods, the transmission of ideas, so cultural transmission, the political association, the economic intervention, and the religious behavior. And I will conduct a transversal analysis through the different relational ties. The first one is the connectivity, is a very physical, topographical parameter that we can construct on different levels. So this one of the view sheet, so the possibility to communicate through the long distal visual communication with fire or smoke, for example, the pedestrian routes on the seaways. I will show you today my application just for the pedestrian routes, and I really don't know if in the future, in my research, I will analyze also the view sheet of this network, because I have the luck to know this territory very well, and the position of the settlements, it's normally not very important for the visual communication. There's very few settlements they can communicate because of the assessment of the territory that's full of hills, and normally the settlement are constructed in places, are located in places they can't relate each other to the visual communication. But they are very well connected through roads. The connectivity gave us one mode network undirected. That means one mode network is a network between an homogeneous set of nodes. My set of nodes for the connectivity, for the relational type of the connectivity, are the settlement, and the settlement communicate each other, and the network is undirected, because when I study the connectivity, I don't study really the real movement of people, but just the possibility to move from a settlement A to a settlement B without to pass through another settlement. And this possibility is reciprocated. It can move from A to B and from B to A. So we have one more network undirected. The second relational tie is this of the human mobility. Human mobility is a very strong field of study for the social network analysis, especially in the field of the relationship through marriages. A column of the works about with the method of the social network analysis is this one of John Paget, 1994, about the relationship through marriages of the Florentine families in the Renaissance. For Northern Etruria, we have a very specific epigraphic records that they are relating to the movement of a bride from a settlement to another settlement, that allow us to construct this network that unlikely a bit a partial network because of the different choices of different cultural area inside of North Etruria, relate of the use of the epigraphy in the funerary context. That means that we will have a very good record and a network we can study in the territory of Volterra, Chiusi, and Perugia, for example, but a very practically non-existent network of through epigraphic records for the coastal cities as Populonia or Vetulonia. The mobility of people in between settlements in Northern Etruria is really not just limited to the marriages and relationship between families through marriages. That's a very big and important field of study of Etruscology that was very stronger in the 70s in the history of the Etruscologists, the movement of craftsmanship and artists. I have some research to apply this category to my network for some principal reason. The first one, that when we have a bride moving from a settlement to another one and connected families, these brides are leaving from settlement A and arriving in a settlement B. Then they die normally in the settlement B inside of another family. They are buried in the grave of the family of the husbands. And then we have this connection, fixed connection in a lot of time between two settlements. When we analyze the network of craftsmanship and artists, we really don't have a fixed connection between settlements, but the artists are going around inside the network, touching different settlements. Especially, it's quickly impossible with our archaeological sources to demonstrate that something is product from an artist that move from a place to another place for two principal reasons. The first reason is that not just the artists are going around, but models too, and the scholar of this artist. And the second reason, that's maybe also a bigger problem, it's that for many classes of material, it's quickly impossible to demonstrate that this an object was produced in a place, in a workshop, and then it moved from another workshop. For the pottery, for example, in Northern Etruria, the composition of the clay is very homogeneous, and just a few cases in which we have a signature of artisan can indicate a movement of people between a settlement, but it's not really true that the artisan move together with his vessel, that the vase can move, the ceramic, the pottery can move in an independent way. And sorry. This mobility of people gave an one-mode network because the dots, so the vertices of the network are still the settlement and they are homogeneous, but in this time it's directed because there's a starting point and a point where this movement is arriving. The exchange of material goods presents some problem that I think you could ever know yet from this problem of the movement of artists and craftsmanship. We can't be sure that an object is moving from a place A to a place B without to be passed end to end. And so that's not so easy to assume the presence of an object as a contact between two dance settlements. How can we solve this problem? That's, for example, some grave goods from Volterra in the 3rd century BC, some jewelry. That's very many possibility to study the object as indication of contact between places. In my case, I choose the easier, it's this one, of the creation of an affiliation network. The affiliation network are done between sets of nodes. They are not homogeneous. For example, this B-model set of network, and they are normally used in social network analysis. For example, to study the relationship between people are voting at parties and the parties themselves. So we have a settlement group in our case, so a group of nodes that they are relating to a group of events. In our case, they are objects of classes of objects. That's a way we can determine the territory of cultural influence of the main center in the minor settlements. The transmission of ideas, so of not material goods, it's even more complicated than this of the exchange of material goods. At first, because we can't demonstrate the transmission of lifestyle, for example, of the wish to adopt some special iconography through the movement of the object itself. And that's something more, that's the imagination of people and the literary works that we still we don't have for Etruria are still very important vector of the cultural transfer. That's also another interesting problem that I analyze in my PhD, that's the cultural transmission doesn't follow normally this linear transmission way or a reciprocate transmission way, but it can follow a multivariate transmission system. That means when we have in a place B an object that's not typical of the culture of this place. Normally in the past we talk about influence from a place to another place. So we have the artistic influence of Magna Graecia, for example, in Etruscan Hellenistic art. That's really not so true, because the production of an iconography or the adoption of lifestyle or of behavior in a place can be the result of repeated contacts from different places that they are influenced one for the other. Also in the case of the cultural transmission, I will try to enucleate some phenomena of cultural transmission and to construct an affiliation network as for the circulation of material goods. And then the relational tie of the association. Association is the political association, is, as I told you before, the typical case in which normally we apply the social network analysis. In our case, we have a problem is linked with lack in the sources. To know the political association between northern Etruscan center, we can just use the Roman sources that they are related, they are partial and related to the main center. I think in every case that's some meaning to construct an association network of the main center when we can compare this association network with the cultural network of the cultural transmission and the circulation of goods, assuming that's a difficulty to relate between settlements that are in the international politics in different groups. And the same things, it's possible to think for the interaction. The interaction is economic interaction between families. They are living in different centers. The interaction between families, for example, in buying or selling plots of land, is known through epigraphic sources. For example, we have here the Typus Perusinus or the Tabula Cortonensis in Cortona. Also in this case, we will obtain an affiliation network of the family. They are related in different settlements. And as a last relational ties, I choose a religious behavior that I don't like to insert in the phenomenon of, between the phenomena of cultural transmission. Because a religious behavior is touching the question of the identity much stronger as every other shows relate to the lifestyle, as we sadly have seen in the last time. And because of the strong interaction between religious behavior in the Roman colonies, that they are interacting with the Etruscan settlement and in the same territory. And as an expression of religious behavior, I will construct an affiliation network related to the deities, to the external shows of the ritual, and also to the topography of the main sanctuaries. And then to the third choice. So I choose the size of the network, the relational ties, but I'm interested to study the romanization as a process. That means that I need to study the longitudinal network. It means the evolution of every single network for every relational tie in the time. For this reason, I've done a choice that it wasn't easy, because to divide the time slots through the Punic Wars, that's not so fair respect the real situation of the people living in the city. Because Hannibal went inside of Etruria to the area of the Trasimenic lake. That means that Perugia, Chiusi, and Cortona were strongly touched and involved from the impact of the Punic Wars, but the coastal city were in the same time much more involved to contrast the Celtic population that were coming down. In every case, the unification of the economy of the market under Rome after the defeat of Carthago had a very strong impact in the inland Etruria as well as on the coastal area. So resuming, I have done three principal choices: this of the node size, this of the relational ties, and this of the time slots. And if I want to compare my network, I can't change, obviously, the 3 parameters at the same time. That means I have to start holding as a fixed point the space and the time, so node sites and time slots, and to move along this line of the relational ties. So I will construct a single network for relational ties, and then to variate the time slot to obtain a longitudinal network. And I'll always fix the node sites, that mean Northern Etrurias and settlements. And now I show you the first applications of the social network analysis inside of this triangle between the main center of Volterra, Fiesole, and Chiusi. That's a special reason because I choose to show you this internal, the settlement in this internal lens. It's because choosing just a territory of a city, we don't have any variation in the relational ties of the circulation of godos. We can have some variation, but these variations are not very important. But if we watch the territory where the influence is mixed between cities, we can also get over to the traditional idea of territory, of cultural influence of these Etruscan cities, because it's a very interesting point that every city has a coda that was individuated through borderline stones named Tular, with the name of the governor of the city and the single cities. But really, we don't have any knowledge about the real political and cultural influence of each city in the huge cultural territory where there's homogeneous cultural manifestation, for example, type of burials or type of alphabets, because every main center has also slightly different character for some kind of letter, for example, in the alphabet. And that's the whole network set for the whole period. And then I separate this, the center for the chronology, 4th and 3rd century BC. And then we arrive to the application of the social network analysis. And I have to thank here Tom Brigham, that was here some weeks ago, because he taught me in the seminar in London to use this software Cytoscape. And this software can study the network through metric and statistic, but can also give us graphics, and it's not just a graphic of the network, but it's an elaborated graphic or graphics of the networks. That means that it allows us to understand through colors and dimension of the dots some proprietary type of the network in the different chronologies, and to compare them. I show you just 3 metrics of the graphic. The first one is the closeness centrality. The closeness centrality, it's the possibility of every settlement to catch information for the network, and to as well to spread information inside the network. That's because it's the low distances, the places that have a higher closeness centrality have low distances for, from every other settlement in the network. We can observe also the dimension of the network of the first phase. That's very little, so a few settlements and few connections. Another analysis that's another centrality analysis that's quickly easier is this one of the degree. In the case of an undirected network, we can just talk of the degree. That's the number, total number of connection of a settlement. In the case the network is directed, for example, in the case of the mobility, we will have an in degree or out degree in base of if this contact go inside or outside from the center. And now I will show you the same things for the 3rd and 2nd century BC. And you can see how different is the network. And then we have a nucleus of center with very high closeness centrality. And this closeness centrality so high is determined from a huge number of minor settlements on the periphery. The same analysis can be conducted on the degree, but we can see that that's few centers at the same time with an high degree. And for the last phase, so when the romanization in base of the literary sources is going to be completed, we can see that something very interesting happens. That means that we have a group of settlement here that's grouped around the main center of Volterra and Fiesole, and another group of settlements, this clustering in the cultural area of Chiusi. And we can see that the connection between the two cultural areas, so this main center of Chiusi and the main center of Volterra and Fiesole, are linked just through two ties. That means that here that's a very weak linkage that's enough to crush one of these centers to practically detach the territory of Chiusi from the territory of Volterra and Fiesole. The same analysis is conducted on the degree, but before here, if we apply another measure, another matrix of centrality, the betweenness centrality, that's the possibility of a center to be a bridge for the information between the all other center, we can see here in the evolution between the 2nd phase and the 3rd and last phase that the bridge center, they have a strong power to allow the communication between the other center, are these two, and that's enough to destroy this center of Castelnuovo Berardenga, or to catch or to influence this center, to destroy the possibility of information to pass from Chiusi to Volterra without to pass through Roman centers. And when we conduct the analysis of the network through the social network analysis, we can do that trying to individuate patterns of behavior of the center to cluster them topographically or culturally around other center. And we can also analyze not just the full network, but also subgroup of network and the minimal subgroup of network, the dyads and the triads, and how does the relationship between these minor groups of settlements are interacting. And here there's a kind of synthesis of this analysis that we can have also through metrical statistics, and that's just to indicate that between the 1st and the 3rd phase, all indicators of the cohesion of the network are decreasing. So during the romanization, we can see even in a 1st phase of the study that's a decrease of indication of cohesion of the network. The same analysis, I will conduct the same analysis for all the other relational ties. In this case, that's an example for the mobility with between us and in degree. And then to the archaeological question. I have some main questions that are: which was the role of the minor settlement in the Hellenistic time, and how did it change during the Romanization? And can we read the Romanization as a breakdown or as a substitution of the social network of these settlements? And to try to answer to these questions, I will use my network set and conduct on the network sectional network analysis to compare network of different chronology in the longitudinal network, and I will use variable relational ties that they will be integrated at the end of the research in a comparison between networks. That's because the complexity of the situation is done especially from the interaction of the different layers of the different relational ties. The mobility, for example, is influencing very much the cultural transfer, or the exchange of goods as well, the cultural transfer, or the connectivity is influencing the mobility naturally. In this case, we can see that we are in front of a very complex situation that can be, and we can get over of this just with the integration of different networks. And my take-home message and the challenge I want to propose you is to respect the complexity. We can be simple, and we have to be simple to study the network. So we can reduce our parameter to mathematical and graphical object, but then we have to reconstruct the complexity, because the complexity is a category that's our own category of history and archaeology, and then we have, through this simplicity, we have to be able to respect and reconstruct this complexity. And I thank you very much for your attention, and I open to every question, critiques, and suggestions.